Hello, this is Gerald Johan van Was, an educational channel of demonstrations of letter combinations in words and how they guide you to find your direction in our communications, in our expressions, what we want to say, in which direction we want to go. And there's a structure that guides all the letters into certain specific directions. We're not very conscious about it, but they exist. And I can explain the theory, or I can explain how it works and what they do one by one. Here in these couple of videos I will explain how the structure exists and how it works and how the letters fit within this structure of logic. And it's a building up logic that you can more or less, how more complex the conditions are, we also need different guiding directions how we solve this. And in the last couple of videos I already talked about placement. I also talked about timing, but there were still a lot of things that maybe couldn't be placed immediately, couldn't be timed immediately. And so we have still a whole set of elements that we can't use, that we can't do anything with it from everything we learned so far. So we need new concepts, we need extra concepts to do that. From the beginning we had a feeling of uneasiness, that things didn't work, and it's frustrating. So how can we solve this feeling of uneasiness? How can we correct this? And there's a different way, a different level of thinking that will guide you immediately towards where you need to go to, that you can adapt whatever you want to adapt. And this feeling of uneasiness, which is the foundation of really everything that happens and that wants to get you into a better position, at that point might not even be a feeling of uneasiness. But we, at this moment, we feel uneasy. We started from a three-dimensional world vision and we placed ourselves into the world of communications, of confrontations in that way. And we saw the other, we saw we saw ourselves, and we all found ourselves in a world that we wanted to do our thing, our own thing. We want to do our own thing. Everybody wants to do their own thing, and it's a struggle from here to here. And we have found some ideas to guide us, like the idea, okay, let's communicate, let's find some balance of what you want, what I want, and somewhere in between there might be something that works together. It is very confrontational, it's always a conflict, it's always a struggle, and it never works very well. Even with this idea, it remains confrontational in the three-dimensional world. So we invented an extra concept that said, okay, maybe it doesn't work now, maybe it will work later. Let's find the best timing so that we'll find here. So I have a much bigger world. I have a timing frame, not just a placement. A placement is about what I want. I have this place and I want to stay here. And no, this is now the timing. So we can adopt a little bit of adaptations. We're already adapting it a little bit further. We have some schedule. Okay, here I can achieve this and here I can achieve that. So at some other time I can do that. So we still have this seeking balance. It's still a feeling of unease because some parts will work on this system. The placement, it's more a matter of everybody on its own. But and with the direct confrontation on this four-dimensional plane of timing, it's also a matter of conditions that we have to work towards and then still find a balance. This feeling of unease is always there because each person still has capabilities of abilities that brings it beyond what is possible the two of us, between the communication. Each of us can reach even much more than we can ever explain to each other what it is and how it is. Some things between persons, between communications, they still don't match that. But so the world is much bigger than the combination of two persons, even in the perfect mix of adaptation to each other. It's still limited to what can be combined easily in placement, in timing. The world itself, from possibilities, is in fact much bigger. And so so my next plan is to include also these things that individually in our uneasiness still has all the potential there, but not the potential of in the communication itself. In the communication, we didn't succeed to let it work immediately in a neutral position. It didn't work. So the whole red flag area that we see there, that didn't work for the cooperation, this still is a potential that we could both use as soon as we have a method for that. And the method is now going to be explained on the next level of consciousness, on the next level of placements, on the next level of dimensions, of the next level of being able to do something with it, which we weren't being able to do so on our timing schedules and on our placement in our normal time and space. We were not able to integrate this in our existence, but it exists. So you have a whole platform of anything else that is still there, and there are letters there. What if we could really reach this infinite Q, this infinite world of G, the path of our path, our own directions, the V? Welcome to the infinite directions of the seventh dimension. Now, I'm a bit joking. It is related with what is also theoretically involved in the seventh dimension. I'm not going to explain that yet, what that means. So it is a reorganization of time and space, it is true, but I will explain it so very easily. It has the same context as this seventh dimension, whatever this is and whatever this can be. This is quite irrelevant in our daily thinking, but the ideas are there in the background. The ideas and the structure is rooted there. But we could use these three directions of these infinite more possibilities that there are, that are not possible to have in a direct communication with each other, in a direct cooperation, that are not possible there. There still are so many more possibilities that we could still integrate and reintegrate. It asks a reorganization. How do we do this organization? So we already had a middle point of communication where we could interchange. We had a neutrality and we could interchange this. Let's use this interpoint that can still inspire us, or even the things that are not within our direct reach, we could bring them back to this neutral point of communication, bring them back, and it is so that also all the things that are out of reach can still inspire. How is it done? It is like a kind of translation of the unknown world conditions to the known world, our known world intercommunications, so that it can still become within reach. So far it's slightly theory, but it is exactly what the Q is doing. The Q is translating what hasn't been seen from the individual visions and the combinations of visions themselves, but it's still something that should be within reach. As you can still translate it and still do something that you don't even realize how far this is going, how far this is going, as possibilities, as reaching something that they don't even know what it is. It's the unknown, which unknown borders that are the unknown work field is being inspired from here. Not only the cue, the middle point is there. It's also my own path, which I follow myself, which I developed, which was beyond reach of the other person. I could also translate it to as with regional coordinations, with regional placements, with regional timing, so that everyone actually know where it is. So it is like communicating and saying, okay, I am at this point, I am beyond the reach. You can't see me, but I'm there at the other end of the world. I'm there. Do you know more or less where it is? I am timing something which at this point you don't know it. It's a kind of communication which says it is measured. Yeah, I have a measurement. It's somewhere further. It's out of reach, but you know what I'm talking about. It's the kind of description with the V, which says it's beyond your direct reach, but you can describe it as measurements. Let's say that you say, okay, it is not from you, but it is from somewhere else. It is somewhere else. You know what I mean? It's somewhere else. Okay, I know where I mean. I can orient myself in space and time. I know what it is. Now I understand. That's the reorganization of an order, of saying, of describing the things that are out of reach, that you say, okay, within this rhythm what we are doing, it's over there. Okay, we can't fill it in completely, but we know already where it is. That's the kind of description that is needed with the usage of the letter V. Now the same thing for G. G is then the third letter, the borders themselves. So these are really about the outer reach of what can be reached, even in the limits, in the what you can grasp, even beyond your capacities to ever grasp this. This also cannot be reached by trying to communicate about it. It's not possible. Also, this should be translated to say, okay, but you can still use it for it until a certain within a certain perspective. You can still understand it. You can still understand the message from it. You can still define its borders. Here are the borders within there. You can use it. You can use these ideas. They are inspired. They are from very far away, from beyond your reach what you understand, but you can use it. So do you understand that you can use these things, not because I say so, but because you understand these things. You understand how it breaches your borders and brings you somewhere further by saying this, by expressing this. If it is bringing you further beyond your reach of your limited borders, then you have the message. Then you have the message of G. It's not going to a more restricted area, it's going to a wider area so that you can use more than you can, and you know how to do so and still be safe. That's the kind of message that can be brought over from this idea with G. So in all ways, this is a new foundation of new coordinates that are from things that are beyond our grasp, that we can't understand, but we describe it in such a way that we can place them, that we can use them, and that we can communicate with them. And it doesn't give a feeling of unease. There is the only unease is the unknown part in it, but when we have define them as with a G as borders, with the Q as an accumulation in communication, and with the V as, okay, I have my individual part and I have my own direction. Do you see where I'm going? And it is understandable in time and place. You have reached a neutrality that is still inspiring, because you know where this neutral point is. It's out of reach, but you can place it. It's a good placement within its time and space frame that normally wouldn't fit within the time and space frame that you from the known world, but even with the unknown elements, you can still place them somewhere and talk about them. That's what the language is doing. The language is taking new elements, in this case, that normally are not immediately within reach. So here is a foundation for the new set of elements that we finally can use that normally we couldn't. We couldn't do that by taking them immediately in our hands and place them somewhere, time them, frame them. Now the only frame that we have here is that we understand where it is, where more or less in our system it is, and what we can do with it, how we can relate to it, how we can in that way. That's a new kind of set of elements that we can use still in our language, in our directions of logic, and that's what these letters are used for, the G, the Q and the V. This is the first of 3 videos of the last couple of letters in the system. I hope you enjoyed this one. This was Gerald Johan van Was. Again, there's a website with a whole set of demonstrations of explained words, mostly, some of it about the theories as well. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to keep yourself informed and updated. Thanks again. Bye bye.